Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez begins the second half of 2025 with a commanding 120-point lead, but the Ducati star is anything but complacent. Back at the Red Bull Ring and fresh from testing at Balaton Park, Márquez stresses caution, self-control and steady work rather than headline chasing. He also fired a frank shot across modern electronics, warning that added control systems can blunt a rider's influence. Pecco Bagnaia returns from the summer break candid and focused. He believes the core of his 2025 struggles is simple and stubborn. His riding style and the Ducati aren't a natural fit. After a week off in Sardinia and plenty of video analysis, the two-time champion says the fix is less about milagros from the garage and more about changing how he rides. It's a blunt assessment from a rider used to being the benchmark. Reigning champion Jorge Martin arrives at the Red Bull Ring calmer and clearer after a busy Brno comeback and confirmation he'll stay with Aprilia in 2026. The Spaniard says his hand remains not 100%, but that focused training and a productive summer break have left him better prepared for Austria, a track where he already boasts pole pace and podium pedigree. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. With 381 points and a huge cushion over his rivals, the mass looks comfortable. Yet Marquez is refreshingly level-headed. He repeatedly stresses the same message: having the advantage doesn't make you invincible, and the only person who can hand the title away is the rider himself. Starting the second half of the season with a 120-point lead, the only one who can lose the championship is you. And I need to control myself. And I'll need to control myself in some races. Marc Márquez statement. That discipline, knowing when to push and when to temper aggression, is Márquez's explicit game plan for closing out the year. Spielberg is one of the few remaining tracks Márquez has not yet conquered. He admits it hasn't given him great satisfaction in terms of wins, but it has produced memorable duels. He'll chase the Austrian victory, but not at the expense of the bigger picture. Maintain momentum and avoid unnecessary risk. He wants the win but reiterates the priority is to return to the championship with the same momentum and measured approach as before the break. At the Panigale test in Balaton Park, Marquez and his Ducati colleagues split the sectors. Marquez quickest in T1, Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer showing pace in T2, Bagnaia topping T3. He appreciated the circuit's variety and the training value of contrasting layouts across the calendar. The test underlined how different riders and setups can shine in different parts of a track, useful info ahead of Austria and the fresh circuits on the calendar. Marquez voiced clear unease about newer electronic stability controls. He thinks the more systems you add to a bike, the less the rider can influence its behavior, and while they can make a machine easier to ride, they reduce the margin for personal skill. For me, it's clear. The more things you introduce into the bike, in this case electronics, the less difference the rider can make. He tested the control in Aragon and Malaysia and found it taming the bike's reactions, useful for safety, perhaps, but a trade-off in terms of rider expression. Marquez is cautious about premature celebrations. He says clinching the title at Misano is impossible, yet still wants to pick up a match point as soon as circumstances allow, though not by forcing risky behavior. The plan: keep the same character, pick the right weekends to attack, and accept that timing can wait. He'll fight for wins when appropriate, but the trophy matters more than when it's sealed. Marc Márquez's words are a reminder that dominance and prudence can coexist. Comfortable in the championship lead yet mindful of the pitfalls, he's focused on measured aggression, resisting electronic homogenization of the sport, and converting momentum into a clean, controlled run to the title. Whether Spielberg finally yields him a maiden Austrian win or simply another steady set of points, Márquez's blueprint for the second half is clear: control the rider, control the season. Bagnaia spent his holiday resetting in Sardinia, then immediately went back to work studying races and his own laps. He says the downtime helped him switch off, but also gave perspective. Confidence, he realizes, has evaporated and must be rebuilt. I took a week of complete rest, and when I got home, I started working to get back into competition mode. The summer break was not an escape but a diagnostic pause, rest first, then a methodical replay of what's gone wrong. Bagnaia's headline line is stark. My riding style doesn't suit this bike. He explains he's ridden one way for years, highly effective and confident, but that same approach is now mismatched to the GP25's character. The consequence is a lack of front-end feel and the confidence that comes with it. I've come to the conclusion that my riding style doesn't suit this bike in general. We have to find other solutions and work on them to try to ride well again. This is not a tinkering problem, it's a behavioral one. If the rider's natural inputs don't harmonize with the machine, gains from aero or minor chassis updates will be limited. Over the break, Bagnaia rewatched seasons from 2021 onwards, comparing the Pecco that fought for titles to the current rider. He noticed a clear drop in self-belief and believes rebuilding that inner assurance is priority one. He saw a different Pecco on screen, a rider lacking confidence, which convinced him the solution must include changing his approach on the bike, not just the bike itself. It's rare for a rider to publicly diagnose their own psychology, and it's a sign Bagnaia intends to attack the problem from the inside out. Bagnaia contrasts his situation with Marc Márquez, who adapted to Ducati's package almost immediately. He acknowledges Marquez's natural compatibility with the GP25 and accepts the technical reality. Some styles suit the bike better. Marquez has adapted perfectly to this bike. In my case, it's different, but I'm working on it. That admission is double-edged. Respect for a rival's gift, and a clear recognition he must evolve or cede ground. Looking to Austria, Bagnaia warned the Red Bull Ring may not suit the current MotoGP machines because of its tight, stop-start layout. He also tested the new electronic stability control, useful for safety and acceleration, but philosophically uncomfortable. He prefers rider influence to be decisive. He says the electronic aid helps, and might have prevented his Barcelona crash, but he's not crazy about it, because it reduces the rider's role. Bagnaia's stance captures an ongoing paddock tension, safety and lap time gains from electronics versus preserving rider craft and individuality. Bagnaia's recovery plan is practical: change riding approach, test different setups on both GP25 variants, rebuild confidence through deliberate practice and race craft. He understands it's a long job, not a single tweak, and is committed to it. If Bagnaia can successfully remodel his inputs without losing the aggression that made him champion, he could regain a very dangerous form. The clock is ticking, but the will is clear. Pecco Bagnaia's honesty is refreshing. He's not blaming teams, parts or luck. He's pinpointing a rider-level mismatch and promising to adapt. That admission makes him human, and potentially dangerous. When champions change what they do best and come back stronger, the paddock pays attention. Watch the second half of the season for a technical and psychological comeback story in the making. Martin's return to full Grand Prix action at Brno was as much about physical rehabilitation as it was about settling the off-track noise. He says the summer break gave him time to train and recharge, and that he now feels more prepared than Brno. For sure, my hand is still not 100%, as usual. I think it will be like this all year. But in terms of physical condition, I feel great. I feel more prepared than Brno. Jorge Martin's statement. That measured optimism is tempered. He still admits the hand issue will be a factor, but he's entering Austria with a clearer mindset and improved fitness. Perhaps the biggest psychological boost has been certainty over his future. Aprilia have confirmed Martin for 2026, a decision that removes much of the media speculation that shadowed Brno. Brno was tough. A lot of media stuff. Now I feel more and more relaxed. Everything is clear. I know we will continue together with Aprilia and we are focused on our same goal for the future. With that settled, his team can concentrate on refining the bike and the rider's base setup rather than contract talk, a welcome shift ahead of a packed second half. The Red Bull Ring is a track Martin likes. He holds the MotoGP pole record there and has multiple Premier Class podiums, including sprint results. That pedigree gives him confidence heading into a stop-start circuit that rewards precise setup. Martin's experience at Spielberg and his comfort with the layout make Austria a sensible place to push for momentum after the break. Martin's goal for the weekend isn't bold predictions but methodical progress. He's prioritizing getting the base setup right rather than chasing headline results. For sure, the important thing is to keep improving, to keep working on our base setup, because we still don't have it, and just give our 100% and let's see what it can bring us. That steady, incremental approach could pay dividends. When Martin and Aprilia find a stable setup, pace and consistency tend to follow. Marco Bezzecchi has been one of the season's most consistent non-Ducati threats, and Martin knows Aprilia's internal benchmark is high. The Spaniard wants to close the gap to his teammate, while building confidence for the remainder of 2025. With Bezzecchi regularly in the mix, Martin's immediate focus on setup and physical readiness looks like the right way to chip back into the podium fight. Key indicators over the weekend will be Martin's opening practice pace, tire choices at the Red Bull Ring's unique layout, and how quickly the team nails a usable base setup. If those come together, podiums are within reach, as he's previously forecasted for the season's run-in. Expect Martin to target consistency in practice and exploitation of his known strengths at Spielberg rather than aggressive gambles. Jorge Martin's summer reset has been pragmatic: rest, rehab, training and the reassurance of a confirmed seat. He may not be shouting title ambitions, the focus is on regain, refinement, and riding well. If Aprilia and Martin can find the elusive base setup at Austria, the reigning champion may quietly reinsert himself into podium contention for the second half of 2025.